That's Taylor Rae from her new album, The Void. It's the second long player from this Austin-based artist, and one that Taylor herself is still getting familiar with.
I listened to the album like the day before it came out, and it had been a while since I had heard it, and I was like, I'm really proud of this, and whatever happens, whatever people think, whatever album they end up preferring, like I'm just really proud of what we did here. And yeah, it really seems to have, it's gotten a great response. I'm honestly surprised. I feel like people are kind of less inclined to engage on social media these days. There's so many things happening. There's like so much to talk about. There's so much music coming out and everything. And so I kind of had low expectations for the response. But yeah, the amount of like shares and just like messages I've received about certain songs, I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is going well so far.
Yeah. So when you were listening back to your album after not hearing it for a while, was there anything that stood out for you, stuck with you, kind of said, oh, this is pretty good? What was it about that you liked?
There's one song on there that like I genuinely just love the way the production came out, so much so that's like I would actually play this song. Like I would put this on my playlist.
Right,
and
right.
I normally never would do that because I'm like, that's weird. Listening to yourself is weird. And like there's always things that you're going to want to change that you wish did differently, or like vocal takes you don't love or whatever.
Right.
And this song Undertone, it just hits perfectly. And I'm like, this is a good song. And I feel like it's kind of neutral in terms of its genre. So it just fits in a lot of different places.
Darker weather seems to pass a little slow when you didn't know the last time you saw the sun would be your last. And now I'm holding on for dear life to the night I wrecked it all. I was loving the fall, but now it don't feel right. I don't understand what you said.
It's one that I didn't release as a single beforehand, but I knew would be like kind of an instant favorite for people listening to the album through for the first time. So yeah, I don't know. That one's really, it's hitting for me.
Yeah, and there's a live video of that somewhere around floating.
Yeah, with my trio. And we're doing the trio setup for the release party in Austin on Wednesday. So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, they're in town right now. We've been rehearsing all day, and it's just been, it sounds really cool.
Excellent. So your debut album was called Mad 20s. And so was there any kind of pressure for you to repeat that or be different from that or live up to that?
Yeah, the first record did really well in the Americana world.
Right.
For it being a debut record, it was really well received in Americana radio and kind of like fit the mold of the Americana music that was coming out at that time in 2021. So I guess like, yeah, you could like there was a little bit of pressure. I don't know how much I necessarily felt because the artist in me is just like, I don't care. I'm just going to make this record the way I want to. Right. But there was like, in terms of the radio campaign, I went back to my radio guys that worked my first record, came back with the second record, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of different. It's a little bit more on the rock side. It's a bit more AAA, has a little bit more of an edge to it. So I don't know if it's going to perform as well in radios. Do you think it's worth it? We ended up sending Cologne to radio, and it's been on like in the top 50 Americana charts for the last 5 weeks. And we'll see where it's at tomorrow. But last week it was in the top 20 at number 18. So
yay, okay.
So I'm like, okay, cool. And I don't know how much that has to do with like the actual song and it being a good fit for Americana, but I did tons of radio touring on my first album campaign. And so like going in person and visiting all these stations across the country, I feel like making that face-to-face connection and like building that relationship and then seeing each other like at Americana Fest over the years and everything. I think that was really helpful actually, because then they get the new Taylor Rae track and they're like, oh, I know Taylor,
we were old buddies.
Even if it's not a perfect fit for Americana radio, I feel like really had that going. So I'm so grateful for Brad and Al.
I'm thinking the song Cologne has been around a while because I think you were performing it for a couple of years before the album came out. So tell me a little bit about the history of the tune.
You don't like the game, but if you did, I'd play along.
Yeah, so it started basically with that guitar part, that kind of just like guitar groove. And I had that for years. And then I had the just one first line, I wear your cologne when I'm feeling alone. That's all I had for like, honestly, probably a year and a half.
Right.
And I didn't want to force it because I was like, I know this is going to be a cool song whenever it decides to write itself, but I can't force it. And so, yeah, I ended up going on this date and we like found out that we wore the same scent and it's like a amber oil like roll-on scent and we
Okay.
both had it on our person at the same time and like pulled it out on the first date and we were like, wow, that's such a crazy coincidence. And so that kind of like struck the inspiration. I went home that night and like finished the song. And then I mean that was 2022
Right.
when I finished it. So yeah, I've been playing it since then.
Ah.
Different Many different versions of this song have been played, but yeah, I'm stoked about how the one on the record came out. It kind of has that like Sheryl Crow, all I
Yeah.
want to do
Yep.
kind of feel to it. I don't know. I
Yes.
like it.
Well, in my little notes, I mentioned Cheryl in my notes, but it was after hearing Maybe I'm the Villain.
Okay, thank you. I love Sheryl Crow.
I'm so sick of feeling sorry. Fairness is a tired claim. You think I do senseless killing. Maybe I'm the villain. Maybe you're to blame.
Yeah, I never really quite knew where Maybe I'm the Villain was gonna fit in sonically to the record, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I love a Cheryl reference for sure.
And my understanding from what I've read, that song is kind of Genesis worked from a quarrel you had with somebody.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, yeah, I was in a situation with somebody. We were not seeing eye to eye, and it was just a really intense experience. I was on tour at the time. My mind was in a million different places, and I remember this one night I was just having a tough time sleeping, and I was like, you know, when it's like late at night and you get a little in your head and you kind of start spiraling on some thoughts, and I really tried to put myself in that person's position, looking back at me and being like, I just like really want to be able to try and understand and feel what they're feeling. And so that's kind of where the inspiration struck. And then once I started writing the song and digging into it a little more, it kind of became about like family behaviors that you have tried so hard to avoid, and yet you like wake up one day and you're like, oh, I'm doing the exact thing that I've been trying not to do for so long. So has a bit, you know, yeah, I drew from a little bit of everywhere, I think, on that one.
Alrighty.
But I wanted it to be, I knew what kind of song I wanted it to be for the second track on the album, because the
Right.
rest of the album had already been kind of like conceptualized and I was starting to think of an order, and then I was like, I'm missing a track too. Like I'm missing the just like punch in the face that I need after the void. And so going into it from a production level and just even a songwriting level, I was like, I had very specific boxes I wanted to check
All
when
right.
writing a song, which is not normally how I write songs. So it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, cool. And speaking of production, so you got a guy named Eric Krasnow who's helped you with production. Tell me a little bit about him, what he brought to the table, and
Yeah.
what you guys talked about. Because I think I read that you have like 6 pages of production references that you had written down going into this thing. That must have
Yeah.
been fun for him.
I was like, he's either gonna hate this or love it. Like there's no in between. But because we didn't get to spend a lot of time on pre-production, like the first time I met him was like the first day of the session.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but honestly, and we had talked over the phone a few times and like we were vibing, and I warned him, I was like, I'm kind of a type A artist. Like a lot of this I've been thinking about for years. And so he really respected that and appreciated it and listened through my like reference songs and like made me a reference playlist, and he just hit it on the nail like with his sonic references that he sent back, and I was like, okay, this is going to be fine. Eric is an incredible musician, just first and foremost. I feel like he's really truly been a part of so many incredible projects, whether he's playing or producing, but everyone, I feel like if you're a musician, you know who Eric Krasnow is. Like he's very much a musician's musician, just one of the most tasteful guitar players, and honestly, lesser known like bass players. He played bass on the entire album, and I've gotten so many compliments on the bass player. I'm like, that's Eric, you know? So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I was immediately drawn to him because he produced one of my favorite records of all time, which is Revelator by Tedeschi Trucks Band.
Oh yeah.
He won Grammys for that, obviously. And then he's most recently been working on Mark Broussard and Alan Stone and Sun Little, and kind of just that like, yeah, the more like soulful, funky, like it's outside of Americana, which is what I wanted. I was like, I can cover the Americana vibe for everything, but now I want to bring in someone that's gonna like push me a little bit more into this other side of my music that I want to explore. And so, yeah, he was a perfect choice for that, I think. And it was just a simple process. His studio is in the back of his house, and he had like, Curtis played all the drums. There's only 4 musicians on the whole album, plus Sierra Hull on the one song.
Yep.
And so I just like, we were doing like in Ableton, like, we were just like kind of tracking it right there ourselves. Like there's no time restrictions and like studio rules and like, I don't know, all that. I had my dog with me the entire time. Like it was just very family friendly. He has a beautiful wife and kid, and they were coming in and out. And I was just like, this is how I want to create music. Like it's just less pressure. And we ended up coming up with things that I just don't know if we could have if we had that like time constraint. So yeah, I could not say enough good things about him. He also brings the like Grateful Dead influence because he plays with Dead and Company.
Right.
He's a big jam guy. Obviously one of the founders of the band Soul Live, which is just like one of the most epic jam bands ever. And it was just like a perfect balance for me because I really was like, I don't want to lean more Americana. I don't want to lean more country. I don't want to lean bluegrass or like anywhere there. I really want to lean more rock.
Yep.
I feel we really we fit well together there.
All righty. Now I see in the video for Cologne that you and your sister made at your parents' house. You can see that I have a few records in the back behind me. So I was obsessed with you have a bunch of records that you were playing on the thing. So there's like White Stripes and Revolver and Dr. Dre and Allman Brothers and Nirvana. So how much thought did you put into the records that you chose to show, or is it just random stuff that you had laying around?
Oh no, there was a lot of thought. So basically, for that video, I decided on having 4 personalities.
Oh, okay.
And like, with each personality comes a scent, like a scent of perfume or cologne.
Right.
It comes with a couple different records that personality would choose. It comes with a lipstick color. It comes with jewelry. It comes with an outfit. It comes with a hat. It comes with a vice, whether that be like a cigarette or a beer or like rolling a joint, or I think one of them I'm literally taking mushrooms. So so I just I laid them all out on my couch. I was like, okay, here are the 4 personalities, and I put all the props, including all the records that I wanted for that personality there. So yeah.
See, being a record geek, I missed all that. I'm just looking at the records.
No, and like that's great because I feel like there's something for everyone there, and honestly, all of those personalities are so me.
Right.
Just like, this is a way I can, showcase them, because my team was like, do a get ready with me video. That's what you should be doing. That's like the trending thing. And I was like, this is the best I can do.
And I think I saw Lou Reed's Sally Can't Dance in there somewhere. Am I right?
I what?
Lou Reed's album in there somewhere?
Oh, Coney Island Baby.
Coney Island Baby. That's the one. Yeah.
I love that record.
All right.
That is one of my all-time favorites. It always will be.
Very cool. How did you, you're a kid. How did you hear about that stuff?
I grew up doing musical theater in my community, and we had this writer who would write these children's plays, and they were actually like musicals, but she would take old like classic rock songs or just songs mainly from like the 60s through the 80s and rewrite the lyrics so they fit the script. So it was all these kids singing like these classic songs, and I feel like that really like just opened my world up to obviously learning the songs, being in the plays, and then having to listen to the original versions. And so growing up with artists like Lou Reed and obviously like the Beatles, Dylan,
Yeah.
just like the list goes on.
It does indeed. And I saw you you did like an acoustic version of Tomorrow Never Knows.
Yeah.
It's like, how are you going to do that? I was just before I pushed the button and listened, I was like, there's no percussion, there's no backwards masking and blah blah blah. But it sounds pretty cool.
Turn off your mind, relax and float downstream. It is not dying. It is not dying.
Now you did mention we would be remiss if we didn't mention Sierra. So how did you get her involved in this thing and Telluride and all that? Give me the on that.
Sierra and I went on tour together for the first time, I believe, in 2021, and just kind of became really fast friends. Or no, it was maybe 2022. Yeah, super fast friends. We went on another tour together like 6 months after that, and we just we just clicked. We get along really well. We kept in touch. She comes into Austin every so often. We hang out. We'll periodically get on a catch-up phone call and stuff like that. And so when I was doing this record, I was like, well, I gotta have the queen of bluegrass and mandolin on Telluride. I started writing Telluride, I immediately thought of Sierra, and even before I finished it, we were gonna try and get together and co-write the rest of it, and I ended up just writing the rest of it because I had a strike of inspiration, and I asked her and I was like, do you still want to play on it, sing on it? And she was super happy to do that. So it was just like, I'm so lucky, just the best mandolin player in the whole world.
Very nice. That's cool. So you got shows coming up here and there, and is it like a big tour or just individual kind of?
Yeah, it's not an official tour, although there are a lot of shows in a row.
Okay.
We have our first release party on Wednesday in Austin.
Yep.
And then our second release party in Santa Cruz on May 9th. And then from there, I'm doing like just tons of different radio touring. And then in June, I have a few Colorado shows lined up that I have not announced yet, but I'll be hitting some markets there as well. And probably just be like a big touring year, a lot of radio touring. So I love to just, like I said, for the first album, I like to visit all the stations that are supporting me, around the country. And then if I can get like small shows, and a lot of the stations even help out with that. Like they'll put me in touch with people who do house concerts in the area, and like keep it pretty minimal. I don't really want to like try and book a headlining tour in venues or anything like that, or try and sell tickets like that yet. Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. Right.
So got to build up a little bit of the like grassroots following. And I think returning to these places since I've been there for Mad 20s will be like a great step in the right direction.
If you enjoyed this episode of the 13th Floor's Music Talk series, please be sure to subscribe to the website or to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram and wherever you find your podcasts. There's a whole lot more to discover.